Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April 10th, 2023 was noticed to the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News on March 28th, 2023, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. Starting time of 6:30 p.m. for this meeting was noticed on April 7th, 2023, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of the date and time notices are and have been available to the public or on file in the office of the Borough. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt. See her. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Rosetti.
Here.
Ms. Tilley.
Here.
Ms. Carroll.
Here.
I'm not hearing the feedback anymore. so-
No, I'm ready. Did you fix it? The feedback is stopped. As soon as you put it on recording, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, the first resolution is resolution 2023-93, executive session to interview candidates for employment for clerk and technical assistance to the construction office. Can I have a motion, please?
Long second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask everybody other than the technical assistant to the construction office candidate to please leave the room. This interview is going to last 15 minutes, and then we have a second one following that at 7:45. I'm sorry, 6:45 to 7 p.m. And we're going to be very prompt on this. So
Do you want, if you want to take a chair outside?
yeah, you guys can take a chair out, you can go hang out, you can
Yeah.
go whatever. Well, can you please close the door on your way? Thank you.
She says she's coming in now.
Okay, so we've got now,
It's executive sessions.
yes, so now take it off or whatever. Crazy. Crazy.
You want me to tell her that she's gonna pop in?
She can come in.
Okay, well,
Well, I blocked it.
Come on, do you want to sit up close? Are we, is it safe now? Are we safe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we?
I'm still recording. Tell me on the.
I'm recording. I just want for the public just to know that there were a couple of additions to the agenda. They were properly noticed, but rather than amending the agenda tonight, but just so you know, there are two additions. One is an item to give council approval for our community garden not-for-profit that runs the community garden to apply for a grant. And the other one is for the fireworks. Those are the two additions. I'm also going to appoint two members to different redevelopment committee subcommittees, putting them back on, members that have been on already. So I am appointing Council Vice President Tilly back to the redevelopment subcommittee for Liberty Village, and Councilman Parker back to the redevelopment committee for the two Agway sites. I also am looking for a couple of volunteers. I don't know who's interested in this, so I am not going to appoint anybody, but I'm looking for two council volunteers to help form a subcommittee to look at cannabis applications and put them into some ranking order. Do I have two people who are
I'll
willing?
do it.
Councilman Parker, can I have somebody else? Anybody else interested in or have the time to do this?
I didn't say.
Susan.
Okay, Councilwoman, Councilwoman Engelhardt, thank you very much. So it'll be Councilman Parker, Councilwoman Engelhardt, myself, it'll be a member of the police force and some others. As we put that together, I'm willing to take some suggestions as to who, besides law enforcement, you might think would be good members. I just also want to announce that the Flemington Community Partnership.
I'm so sorry.
Just turn your volume off. Turn your volume.
So sorry.
Like space. Again, Flemington Community Partnership is willing to host wants to host, and they're gonna host, whether we like it or not, and I think it's a great idea, a public meeting over at Stengel, and has offered us the 1st or the 3rd or the 17th. I think the 7th of May. I think the 17th is too far away. You don't have to be there. It's not our meeting, it's their meeting. I just would like to get a consensus on when, if you want to participate as council members, whether the 1st or the 3rd, it's a Monday or a Wednesday, works better for you. Does anybody have a conflict with either of those two dates that would make it impossible for them to participate?
I have HPC the 3rd Wednesday.
Okay, the 3rd one, this is the 3rd of May.
Oh, you said the 3rd.
Sorry, yes, the 1st or the 3rd of May.
What's at 7 p.m.?
So it'll be at 7 o'clock over at State Hall.
Yeah, I can do it.
Either.
I can do it.
Okay, so, I think maybe a Wednesday night's better for the public, so why don't we, Robin, why don't we schedule that for Wednesday the 3rd? Get that in stone and we can get it up on our website and everything. I also just want to say that, the Flemington Community Garden, folks are working now on taking their bylaws and creating, a better public process. To get on our website for people to get plots. They have 18 plots total. They have 11 reserved right now, so there's still 7 plots available. And then I finally I've asked our attorney to work on updating the MOU. Their MOU has things that are missing that have to be in it for government, and it doesn't also have a deadline, which also government requires. You can't do it in a forever lease. So that needs to be cleaned up and make them more of a partner with us. And finally, I do want to announce, I have not gotten a response from Senators Booker or Menendez, but I did get a call today from Congressman Kane. We are one of his 15 submittals for the congressional budget to finish the police department and put the well in. We made his cut. He got over 60 requests. He has put us in as an earmark for $2,012,000. There is no guarantees. It's a long process. We're also in the state budget, $250,000 is an earmark for Senator Zwicker just to finish phase 2A, which is the processing center. This is for everything else. And if we get into the senator's budget as well, it helps our cause. But neither called me back. And it is part of the urban housing transportation or transportation housing and urban renewal budget, because there's pockets of budget. Sadly, the Y did not get put in because they specifically put in for the pool, which is not allowed under congressional rules. Ys can be funded, but not swimming pools. So they're gonna have to redo their application into something else next year, and hopefully we'll get it next year. So I'm gonna just go around to the council members again. We have a big meeting tonight. So unless you need some kind of action from the council or me, can you please keep your reports down? You can save everything to the next meeting of what your committees and boards did. I'm going to start with Councilman Johnston. Do you have a report?
Thank you, man. No report this week.
Councilwoman Rossetti?
Just a really quick reminder, there is a Shade Tree Commission meeting this Wednesday, the 12th, if anyone wanted to know that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President Tilly.
You mentioned something about fireworks.
There's a resolution on tonight to approve the fireworks.
I don't have it on the agenda and I
No,
didn't see
it's already
it.
passed.
What did you send me about? What were the thing from Arcanes?
We passed both.
Was he
last
just
week.
looking for us?
Last week.
Is that
He
what
was
I?
just looking for.
Oh,
We
okay,
passed-
good. Sorry.
We passed both last week.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we
I just
went
read
for
it
the
too fast.
insurance.
The insurance, okay.
And we got the insurance too.
Yeah,
you emailed.
Councilwoman Engelhardt?
I just wanted to announce one thing that was before the next meeting because it's timely. And that is on the 25th of April at 8 a.m. at Unity Bank. There's an NJEDA Small Business Grant and Loan Workshop that I think a lot of our local businesses might be interested in. And I wanted to make sure it was announced at tonight's meeting because by the next meeting, it might be a little too late. We also have a planning board meeting next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. It was shifted because of the holiday week. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of the
Wednesday.
unusual calendar on that.
Okay, Wednesday, good. Councilman Parker?
I don't have anything, but I will just go on the NJ BTA, is that we are gonna have a session for the Hispanic and Latino business owners as well. So I'm helping to rally that group of individuals. And
Very
Well,
nice, thank you.
yeah.
And saving the best for last, sorry, normally I start with the council president, but I'm saving it for last. Go ahead, council president.
Yeah, I don't have a report, but I have a statement that I think is very important to make this evening, because it's about our community. At January's reorganization meeting, I stated, where we experience challenges, we will press forward and grow. Where we have disagreements, we'll work to find consensus. And if we're able to be clear-eyed, we will make the necessary decisions for a successful and healthy town. My experience at challenge serves as fuel for betterment. Whether personal or within this community, I believe we should welcome challenges because you never know which one will get you to a better place. This is courageous and necessary work if there's a rift or hurt in the community of people. I'm fully committed to this line of thought because I've seen it. And I'm asking my fellow council members, Mayor Carroll, and this community to trust me on this one. That being said, let me tell you about my experiences these past few weeks, because I've done a lot of thinking, but most importantly, I've done a lot of listening. For several months, it's been abundantly clear that big national issues have seeped into the greater Farmington community. I have always felt that at the local level, we possess the power to not let these things filter down to our 1 square mile town, but this is not the nature of things these past few years. One of these issues is the massive amount of focus on trans youth and adults. Where this country experiences progress, there is, to be sure, a backlash. When a marginalized group of people grows more comfortable and finds acceptance, this can cause confusion, frustration, and even fears in others. We've seen this throughout our history. On March 31st, I attended the rally for International Transgender Day, the International Transgender Day of Visibility at the historic courthouse. I'd like to thank the organizers, the individual speakers, the brave children who spoke and shared their words and experiences, their fears, their pain, their hope. Ultimately, what I experienced was courage to be seen, to not give in to the fear that intolerant voices tend to provoke. Tonight, I'd like to speak towards further making our town a more accepting and just place. No one should feel unwelcome here. As I've said in the past, I'm a realistic guy. I don't expect us all to get along perfectly all the time, but there's a basic expectations we should be living in a community. In January, the mayor announced the planning board nomination that caused some frustration for members of the community at large. This person had stated things on public Facebook pages that were offensive. Postings were found to be transphobic and homophobic. Members of the community were incensed. Some showed up to our meetings to speak. Others wrote letters. The council saw that it didn't have much power. And so these loose ends were not tied up. Tonight, I'd like to see if we can take the necessary steps to not just tie up those loose ends, but use this hurt to grow. To, in some small way, be a better community, to be better neighbors. After the rally on March 31st, I sat down with Farmington QTs. We spoke for about an hour about the issue of Mr. Weintraub's comments. I was educated a bit. For example, I found out there are over 400 anti-transgender bills being proposed or have been passed nationwide. 6 of these bills are in New Jersey. Later that day, I read an interview with Masha Gessen, a transgender Russian reporter. This person was Vladimir Putin's worst enemy because their articles were not painting Putin in a sunny light. After Putin intensified his anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and threats to, quote, take children away from gay parents, Masha fled Russia with their 3 children. From Russia to our own country, this backlash to progress is very real. It's especially real for the people I spoke with on April 2nd in Factory Fuels Kiln. I spoke with individuals who don't fit the binary notions of gender. I spoke with an individual who feels comfortable being with people, at least for one day, who are just like him. By the time I was out of questions, I found that our conversation had turned to other matters. The frustration of being able to afford a home, a shared love for Hunterdon County, and our annoyance at bad science and misinformation. When you talk to people, you see their humanity, and they see yours. So tonight I have a proposal. The goal is simple. We need members of the LGBTQ+ community to know that if they ever needed to present something to the planning board, the only thing that would get in the way of an addition, easement, or development is an issue related to zoning. That's it. The way I see it, there are 3 choices we have in order to forge some sort of path forward. 1, we can sit here and pretend everything is okay. Members of the LGBTQ+ community are okay, Mr. Weintraub's okay, everything's status quo. 2, we can be a little bolder. We can ask Mr. Weintraub to sit down and talk to those who were hurt by his comments. They can have a conversation. No resident or future resident should feel that a member of the planning board has personal animus toward them. That reassurance, I believe, can go a long way. I see absolutely no reason why this cannot happen. I have spoken with Councilman Parker, and he's agreed to help me facilitate this conversation if needed. 3, the council can move forward on some sort of process to remove Mr. Weintraub from the planning board because the cause being that the LGBTQ+ community, people that this governing body represents, need to be reassured that they are treated no differently than anyone else. We can do this, I'm certain. Like so many problems, this issue started on social media. Our screens don't allow us to see eye to eye, literally. But when we sit down and have an actual conversation, communicate on a human level, if we do the brave thing, it could alleviate some pain and potentially improve our community. I'm a strong advocate of turning pain into progress and growth. It is through difficult conversations that resolutions are possible. The author Jason Barger says that conversations are the currency for change. I agree wholeheartedly. Personally, I like the second option. Let's have this conversation. I reached out to Mr. Weintraub and he agreed. This is a good idea. I've also reached out to Jay Hoff and they have expressed a willingness to have this conversation as well. So let's see what we can do moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you. All right, that being the end of all of the council members' reports and my report, we're going to turn it over to you. You have about 25 minutes, Robin. We're going to go back to you. You're in and out.
Thank you.
So 25 minutes?
Yes,
Can you do
Yes.
that or less? Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Okay, but somebody give me like a 5-minute warning.
I'll give you a 5-minute
Thank
warning.
you very much. All right, so I am here to talk about the 2023 strategy for the Flemington Community Partnership. We have five top priorities. Advocacy for stakeholders in commercial interests. A stakeholder is a commercial property owner, their tenant, this municipality, and our neighbors. We are also responsible for economic development, growth, and planning, not solely, certainly, and events and marketing to activate business areas, but not for any other reason. And we're here to help with business recruitment and retainment and stewardship of the public space. So moving ahead, I just want to talk a little bit about our board. We have 13 board trustees, including Tony Parker, councilman, who is an equal voting trustee. And we are forever changed by having Mr. Parker, an agent of change, join us and provide a bridge between the council and our board and the community. So we really appreciate that. We're comprised of commercial property owners, tenants, residential property owners, residents, and business owners. That's who's on our board. We represent Main Street, the Sangerville Arts and Cultural District, newly named, highway, retail plazas, and the neighborhood. We have many skills we bring to bear. In February, we had a board retreat, and basically, if you boiled it all down, it comes down to a lot of what you were just saying. That we want widespread engagement and diverse voices in everything we do. We can't just operate as, you know, the 10 with people willing to volunteer their time to help us get anything done. We want more help for the office and in the community. We're excited to have a newly active Main Street group organizing their own events and an active Stangle group organizing, I was going to say agonizing, but I meant organizing their own events, and we'll work to have more highway area representation. But we commit to doing our work not only for, because we are advocating, but with our community. And that is kind of a sea change and requires having a lot more conversation. So when we talk about advocating for stakeholders and commercial interests, we represent non-voting property owners and their tenants who don't vote for the council, but pay a lot of money in taxes. It used to be half, I believe it's less than half now, and expect representation. And that's what part of what our organization does. We represent on economic issues, business growth and development, planning and zoning. Not that we're zoning experts, but if there's some zoning that will impact businesses, we should know about it in advance and have a say. Streetscape issues, construction, and events. Those two things don't usually go together, but they do tonight in my presentation. We've worked actively with the county, which is great, on shared issues and future improvements, and we found them very receptive to working on fixing our signs, the wayfinding signs around town so that they better represent what's actually in Flemington Borough. Including we work with the Hunterdon County Economic Development Office on people calling and saying, I really want to move to Flemington Borough. Can you help me find a space? We actually share a property locator of available properties that lives on their website and our website. And we are really looking forward to having visible and tangible results in terms of signage, cultural and heritage opportunities, economic development, and mostly tourism. We are members of national organizations that have grants and assistance for Main Streets. And I just attended the Main Street America conference where we learned about absolutely more than millions of dollars in grants for places just like ours. In 2023, we look forward to major changes in a bill that is making its way to create 3 equal tourism destination marketing organizations for South, Central, and North Jersey. This would be revolutionary and really exciting for us, and it will result in tourism dollars and attention to Central New Jersey, and we will in fact be Central New Jersey proudly and work with our neighboring counties, and that's awesome. We also expect that there's opportunities in major grant funding, and we really appreciate the HPC and Kim Tilley for doing really hard work to be a CLG, which is a certified local government that allows us to apply for these millions of dollars in grants. We're looking forward to possible changes in liquor laws. And in 2026, we better damn well be ready because it's the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War and World Cup soccer between Meadowlands and Philadelphia. And you know, we're right in the middle. So if we can't be ready to welcome people to stop here on their way between those places and around, it would be very sad. So I'm going to shake this up with the big idea, which is partially paid for by a grant that we already have. We get a grant for $125,000 each year for the next 4 years. And I put $30,000 in that budget. And this is called, and it's all we really heard about at the Main Street America conference, Heritage Trails. So without having to build anything, except for maybe having to put some stakes in the ground and buy some interpretive panels, we basically create multiple walking trails and a walkable museum for Flemington. We create tours, threads, and nodes, meaning like we say, hop off here if you want to learn about railroad history, hop off here if you're interested in courtroom history, or if you want to walk a trail about the Lindbergh trial. But basically, it's about bringing people to our town, making them move around, making them get out of their cars and walk, and having things that they can see on the outside of buildings. And clearly everybody can see the list. I added a residential loop. We already have some of these tours made. It's just about doing the next piece, which is creating the historical and cultural asset markers, which could be banners, interpretive panels, QR codes, artistic prompts, directories that say you are here, and if you want to go there, there's all this wonderful stuff and some places to eat. This can be very artistic, and it allows us to create more partnerships with our churches and our historic organizations. And we are about to get this incredible Jacob Francis interpretive panel right on Church Street. This is the first of our like new interpretive panels, and I think it should be the beginning of a heritage trail that we can. I'm not gonna write it, own it. I can help facilitate and pay for it, but it's really got to be a group project where different people can take different threads and help us put this together. But I think it will really benefit the businesses and everyone else. This is Memphis. They gave a presentation on their trail, and you can't really see well, but they have tons of different maps, and they have tons of different QR codes and different banner signage, but whatever it is, it just keeps you knowing like where you are and what is around you. And we really don't have that layer of here you are, now go there. And why. Okay, moving forward. We get a lot of money that we grant and re-grant. So in the world of streetscape improvements, we will give in the next year $15,000 commercial grants, huh?
1,500,
Sorry, what did I say?
50,000.
Oh, that's good. I wish. Let's try $1,500 commercial curb to cornice grants. You might have noticed some of the work that we've done around town, but people really got creative in improving their properties. But one of the best parts of it was that we had $5,000 to pay for a business assistance technical guy who's called the Storefront Mastery guy. And he came and he had these great conversations with people about like, if you just move this and really, we had some people who said, my window is my window. It has to be exactly the same as it is. And slowly over time, he convinced them to make it a lot better. And sometimes you need other people to come and give you the benefit of their vision. So anyway, we've got commercial curb to cornice grants in the South End District, and we match that with commercial curb to cornice grants from the FCP funds for Main Street. We also have $20,000 in sign grants, that's borough-wide, and we really have seen the bread and culture sign, I think is just like the best sign I've ever seen. And we pay 50% up to the cost. Some of our businesses have spent $6,000, like Happy Peacock, removing awful tinted glass from, they have to actually remove the entire glass so that you can actually see in and see business. And that's really a great trend in the right direction. But it's extremely expensive, and it's often tenants that pay for these expenses, but not landlords. Just is the way that it is, and that's a lot. You know, you spend money renting a store to have to remove the glass for $4,000 is really kind of nuts. We have event and marketing grants. These are to seed new events. They're not to keep events going for year after year after year, because then we'll never get new things happening here. And we also have business grant support that we help with the NJEDA, as Tony mentioned. They've been a great support of ours. Stewardship of the public space. In the big picture, we really want to advocate for public-private partnerships to help create a cohesive corridor from Stangl to Maine. We would really like to, and have started working with the owner of the tracks and the train to take maybe 15 feet alongside the tracks safely for a walking path or a running path or a strolling path or baby carriage path, whatever it is. And that is a big lift. It's gonna be really expensive, but if everybody's inclined to do that, I think we really can get it done, and it'll make our connectivity between Main Street and Stangl the way to go. We advocate for greater cleanliness, tree pruning, weeding, landscaping, and seeding, and when we need to, we will pay for it. That's not like a wait for us to pay for it, but we have had to clean up some things that really, particularly on Stangl, that were like nobody's front yard or backyard, and it just had to get done. We will advocate for future streetscape projects to the extent that you need our help. We should really talk about what spaces we all want to improve, like turntable and cut glass, because they're phenomenal assets to this community, and to see them in disrepair or bring everything down is not acceptable. And we will look for grants to pay for these improvements. Okay. Event goals, I'm sorry, I can't get this to go. Okay. The big thing is, we really want to facilitate block captain leadership so that the businesses themselves are coming up with events. Main Street's working on sidewalk sales, and Stangle's working on a sip and stroll, and these are really exciting because they don't rely on me, I just help facilitate. We want to have on-message events, but like the big thing is we need this town is desperate for positive press. You know, unfortunately, we get a lot of press for things that are negative. So positive press and foot traffic is really what events do, because every time you say you have a new event, every time you say you have a new business, we get tons of press. And we got a lion's share of press last year with many declaratives, like Travel and Leisure with 16 million readers said we're one of the best small towns in New Jersey. The APA gave us best downtown. It's all a little, it's very flattering and maybe a little ahead of the curve, but it's what we aspire to be. And I think it's recognizing how much potential we have. And that counts for a lot. So I have one spreadsheet that's 9 pages. It's really exhaustive of all the events, the FCP events, including the boroughs events, like the fireworks, the chambers events, Susan Wax and Salsa Night, you know, everybody who's doing an event is on here through the end of the year. And then this shorter spreadsheet, which isn't that much shorter, it's 4 pages. Those are all the events we produce. So I encourage you to have a look at that. We do have event grants for people who want to seed events, and we are having them translated in Spanish for the first time, so that everybody, as we said, this is for everyone to have an opportunity to participate. 2023 business recruitment entertainment. If you wonder why I look a little tired, it's because what is it, April, like the very beginning of April, and this is how much new business we've had. This is unbelievable. I mean, it really is. We're 4 months in. So these are the businesses that have opened on Main Street, and they are all local. None of them are chains or regional chains or anything like that. We have 3 businesses coming soon, and I think El Patio may even be open now. This is the Stangle area, and we have some more coming soon, and Fastenal just left, so we have a very large retail space on Stangle, which is kind of unusual. I'm gonna change screens, but all this.
I didn't know they were. They left.
Yeah, they're gone. We get to take those parking signs down.
Where did they go?
They have a note on their door to some other town.
Wow.
That's-
Wow.
So
They have a big online presence as well.
Yeah. And then highway shopping local, even our highway shopping is not it's not chain, it's local. And you know, the fact that Possibilities was able to move from their teeny tiny store on Church Street as part of Liberty Village to this giant store where that was the former Pier 1, like that's a move in a really good direction. We do have Axiom opening, I hope, in the shops, and a second cannabis store somewhere along the highway, and Manhattan Bagel, which I greatly, with a drive-through, coming soon. Move to new spaces in 23. We do have a trend, which is We have a lot of businesses that relocated from, and in 2022, we had like Viva Mexico, renting for 25 years, buying a building on Main Street with fabulous amenities like patios and that was a building that many people looked at and nobody would take because it was too much work. And if you weren't that invested in this community to know you'd be successful, you weren't going to take that space. And they knew that they could make it work and they put, it's all sweat equity. They sweated a lot to make that building as perfect as it is. People move from Turntable to other areas. But we are going to run out of space sometime soon if we don't have pressure to have landlords make their space viable. And if we don't carefully make sure that spaces stay retail, and it's really important that we look at this. Looking for potential space, I gave you the generic because I didn't want to, I don't know if people want me to tell you that they're looking for space here or not. But, we have a local winery tasting room. Who wouldn't want that? We have some great restaurants, but again, we don't have great spaces for great restaurants on our Main Street. They're just not viable. Okay.
You're at 5 minutes.
All right. I think that I'm actually just gonna go back through here to see if I missed something, but I don't think I did. I think I'm really able to take a question or not. I'm done.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this over to the council. Council President, you have any questions for Robin?
No, just, I like that. More businesses coming in, that's good. And I like the idea of.
More local businesses, not regional or
Right,
chains.
Right,
Where we want them.
even better.
Is our intrepid owner of Turntable Junction aware of how many of these businesses want to come in and looking for space? If he would just clean up his territory.
I'm sure he's aware that people are looking for space, but I'm also sure he's aware that they're not renting them from him. And
Well, have we had a conversation with him? Have we actually sat down and had a conversation with him and let him know that these businesses?
I had a conversation with him that Robin had
I know
a
that you have.
list and
But I'm wondering if, based upon this, if there's been a conversation saying that these people are looking to come in if you clean up your act, so what are you gonna do to get that done?
there's
Have
certainly,
we actually had that conversation with him?
no, there's certainly more conversations that need to be had.
So I think the first thing on the agenda is to have a conversation. And I'm.
One of the things-
I'm more than happy.
I'm happy to join you.
Yeah,
One of
I
the
think
things
we
he
should
does
just have a conversation.
that he may not understand is if he loses buildings to demolition by neglect, for lack of a better way to say it,
Or fires.
those buildings are all grandfathered under current law, and if he has to rebuild, he's not gonna be able to rebuild what's there now. It's gonna cost him a lot more money. And I was pretty clear with him, but I'm willing to, if you wanna sit down.
Yeah, no, I
get some
definitely want to do
dates
that.
and-
I think we need
get
to
him to the
just, we
table.
need to move this needle forward, and so let's just do it. I mean, you need to arrange something so that we can get this done. I
Can
would say
do.
sooner than later. Let's
Yes,
get it done. And so here's what I like to see happen. I mean, this is, okay, so we understand. But I want to understand the strategy for getting this done, because I think that's the piece that's missing here. And I think for the council's sake, for the mayor's sake, for the town's sake, for the business sake, to see that there is a plan to get this done.
Mhm.
So with that said, I also think that what we should do for the council is to have a quarterly report and saying this is what we've accomplished for the quarter, because this is a lot of stuff, and how much stuff is this can actually get done? And I am not telling anyone to boil the ocean because it's just too big. But I wouldn't mind having a pot of water on the stove, right? So I'd like to take this, what you presented, and I'd like to put it into a strategic plan. And I'd like that to be presented to the council in the next quarterly meeting.
Is that okay with you?
Of course,
Yeah.
I welcome,
If she comes quarterly, I don't think give her 30 minutes, you're gonna give her 10.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, actually, it could be submitted before the meeting, so everybody has a chance to look at it, which is what I would prefer to happen. Is everybody has a chance to look at it, and at that point, when you come in, we're just asking some clarifying questions. But I just think this needs to be done so that the town and the businesses and everybody else knows what's going on and what the progress has been made and what's coming down the pipe. This is a lot of information, and while I'm not, this is great. The point of it is that it needs to be broken down into digestible pieces and what's actually possible. So that's what I'd like to see, and you can work with Mike and whatever to get on the agenda for the next quarter, well, whoever is here, the next quarter to, Okay.
and we do have a deadline for a resolution on the NPP grant so that we can get the next $125,000.
Oh, we'll put it out.
Yeah.
We did nothing better than
Okay.
the money that we just have to. do.
So I will send you the
Okay.
report like tomorrow or the next day for you to read, and then hopefully I can come back at the next
and I think
meeting.
the grants are a really big important thing, is what grants are we going for in 2023? What's out there, what are we going for? What is our hit rate for getting them? I think that's all really, really important information, because you go for a grant doesn't mean you're gonna get it. So it should be postpartum, so we understand what we've done wrong. And what we can improve in, and so that we can go for the next one or come back to that one or whatever the case may be. I mean, we just need to have a lessons learned and have everything documented. So it doesn't matter if something happens to you tomorrow, somebody can pick it up and run with it. If something happens to one of us and we're voted out or whatever the case may be, there is a trail and there is a precedence and there's a protocol, because that's what's missing, period. And I just like, we just need to get that on track.
Okay,
That's-
no, okay, 'cause I don't wanna go too much longer. Councilwoman, do you have any?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you,
Councilwoman
Robin.
Rosetti, do you have any questions for Robin?
No questions. It looks great. I love the idea of all the historic signage and leading people throughout town, walkability. That's excellent.
It is excellent. Councilman Johnston,
Good job, Robin, as always.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Engelhardt, questions?
Thanks for all you do, Robin. And I know you and I have talked about this, that we have this grant through the park, through the Sustainable Jersey. And so you and I have talked about the fact that we'd like to incorporate that trail to connect to the trail that you had in mind. So I'm looking forward to continue to develop that with you and excited for the work to come.
You know, that trail map Princeton has.
Yeah.
Actually. it's
Oh, no,
really,
if we can have a
really
trail
like
map
this.
that has players,
Yep.
phenomenal, phenomenal.
And if I didn't say this before, we love volunteers. We have T-shirts and snacks and we really could use more help.
Okay, Council President, any questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, Robin, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate your time and appreciate your
Yeah, good job, thank
your
you,
whole presentation.
We'll be
Moving
back
on,
in a quarter.
back in
Yes.
order.
thank you.
And thank you for setting up that meeting for the 3rd of May.
Yes.
And we're gonna get it out there that it's gonna happen, it's your meeting, so you can just send us footage. We'll talk about all this construction and calm the business community down and let them know what's coming and how long it's gonna last, and
Great.
we'll just put them all in a room and let them scream.
Robin, make sure that we hit those Hispanic and Latino zoners on Main Street, please.
Absolutely.
Please.
You bet.
Okay,
Thank you.
administrators report. Back on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Cannabis business applications are now live.
Okay, great,
Deadline is set for April 28th.
okay,
Applications for full-size businesses are $2,500 non-refundable application fee, $1,500 for micro license. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how many people put in. And good luck to,
You got any?
well, I just put it up on.
okay,
Everyone has seen the road construction, so we have lots of road construction for the next few months. Phase 2 of liquid without gas will be taking place, plus we have the Main Street work and bits and pieces such as the construction at the historic courthouse. So it took a couple iterations, but I think we've got a system of getting communications out. And we're improving our listserv so that it will be even better. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. We're going into the first session of public comments. Due to the fact that we have a very lengthy executive session tonight, I am imposing our 3-minute rule and just asking people to keep it down to 3 minutes. I don't like doing this, but in light of the rather lengthy public comments we had at the last meeting, I need to do that tonight. So if anybody has any comments, you can come to the microphone, state your name and municipality. You do not have to state your address for the record, and
Yes, I'll do first.
you get 3 minutes. Okay, sure.
Okay,
I need
Alex
your name.
Orlovich, 25 Brown Street. As you're probably aware that I had some substantial damages to my property because of the Liberty Village. Now, saying strain with the time,
Sorry, Phil.
I had the substantial damages caused by the trees adjusting to my property from Liberty Village.
Yes, I know where you are. Okay.
Yes, okay, so I made several notes, but I just met the new owner from the Liberty Village. And I strongly request that we should have private meeting because it's involved the Flemington Borough Compliance Department also.
Okay, if you would leave whatever you have with our.
Here is my quick demands for you
I
guys
just
to
need
read.
contact information from you.
There is a contact in
Okay,
here
great.
and
Can you put your email on too?
sorry,
Here.
I think you have my email somewhere.
Yeah, well, have it in one place. would be good. Thank you.
And we'll try to facilitate something for your problem.
And it's also, thank you, pertains to the stormwater management, since it's involved my property directly, right next to me. From Liberty Village, because they have a lot, so I really want to discuss this and kind of against it.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else from the public have any comments? 3 minutes, not 9 tonight.
No, you only gave me 6 last time.
That was 9.
Couple things. That whole thing with the damage and everything, that was like a year before I bought the property, and I know that it's between him and the former owner, but if it's helpful for me to show up when you set your meeting up, I'm happy to show up. So that's number one. Number two, thank you for scheduling the executive session for Liberty Village, and I very much appreciate that. And thank you for appointing Kim to be the liaison.
Well,
'Cause
it's Jeremy, the council president, the council vice president, and myself. That
the
is
three of you.
Yes,
So-
and as I stated in writing to you,
Mhm.
everything still goes through me. They will be at the table when we sit down with you to negotiate whatever it is,
Okay,
but it still goes through me.
okay, that's what I want to know, what the process was.
That's the process.
Okay, so last but not least, I will be right outside the door while you're having your executive committee. And if there's any questions that I can clarify right away, get things done quicker, that would be great. And finally, I'd like you to consider scheduling a special meeting between now and the 24th. Assuming you can make whatever the notice requirements are. I think they're 10 days, so it would be very helpful if you guys met tonight, discussed it with your experts, and then we could meet, let's say, in a week or so. And then clear it all up, get it all done, and then on the 24th, hopefully there will be a vote, assuming we're all on the same page. You guys could vote to amend the agreement based on that list of amendments we've been requesting. So I'll be outside
Well, I
afterwards.
hope- I
If you
hope
need me,
you're right outside. I hope
have
you
a
give
cell
some
number.
space between the door.
as
and-
much space as you like there.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. I release the last of my time to you.
Okey dokey. You might want to take a chair outside with you too, because it's gonna go on for at least 2 to 3 hours.
Happy to do that.
Okey dokey. Anybody else?
Mayor,
How
Council,
are
how
you?
you doing there, Mayor? Can I
State
just,
your name for the ad.
Bill Renz,
Yep.
Could I do the city council? You all know why I'm here. It's on North Place, asking that it be changed back to the standard 2-way street. There's 4 driveways, and of the 4 driveways, 3 of the driveways have 7 cars, and 1 has a right of way, which has like about 9 to 10 cars and a mobile home. It's kind of tough to get out of there, and I know Corporate Street's one way. I have no issues with Corporate. Seems like nobody cares.
I want to know what the steps are. Do I have to go through getting signatures to try and get this turned around to where it's gonna be both ways? And the picture that I'm showing you is worth 1,000 words. What's happening is you also have the problem, which I initially brought up with the safety of buses. The trucks that come down our street, because it's a downhill for most of you that may not be aware of it. I know you are aware of it, Eric, Carol, but they're digging into the tar at the very bottom. Eventually, it's gonna cost somebody to turn around and cost us money to repair that. Now, I told you a long time ago, give me the tar, I'll fix it. If we can go both ways, it's more of a slope, an even slope. People come and go, and there's people that have already come in. I know it's new, so I shouldn't use that, but I want to know what I can do. What do I have to do to get the council to consider changing this back to two-way street on just North Place?
So, if, you know, first of all, if you got all of the residents on North Place to agree that that is something that they'd like to see, that would be helpful. Then we would have to have our traffic engineer look at it, and our police department for safety. So
I
I
agree.
don't know why it was changed, but
Yeah, I don't know either, and I think it was changed at the wrong time with regards to the study that was done. When it was done during a time when there was no school. I don't want to take much of your time. I just wanted to know I have the support of all the people, especially the owner of the one house next to me and the others. I just need an interpreter. Another one, he's available to do it. So they're all kind of in agreement. It should be both ways. I just didn't know what the steps are, and if that's all I have to do, I'll get this.
well, I think that would, if we know everybody's in agreement, that would be helpful.
I mean, we like the one way on Corcoran. I have no issues, but nobody's complaining about that, so
Right.
that's their problem.
Right.
Me, we're only talking 4 houses right there, and then the corner house with mine, so.
Is that an issue for school buses?
No, the only, no school buses go up there. I was originally, and I still am, concerned about the traffic going towards the school buses. I happen to be now faced where the buses are, and I don't mind waiting. It is an inconvenience when I can be leaving going the other way
Okay,
to Corcoran. That's it.
all right.
Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes. Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on. Approval of minutes.
That's on February 28th.
I thought you meant on that topic.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, we gotta limit you to 3 minutes.
Yes. Thank you.
Go to the microphone.
State your name and your municipality for the record.
Morning, Cameron, Flemington County, Flemington Borough. I just have a couple of questions. I'm doing an open request.
This is a comment period, so the council does not have to answer any questions under the law, so it depends on your questions.
Can I have the name of the attorney for, and the next court appearance for my councilman Malik Johnson?
That's in Superior Court, it has nothing to do with the municipality.
Okay, I did do those open requests, but they're in the newspaper and here it's spelled differently. It's spelled Johnston and Johnson. So I filled it out the way it's spelled in the newspaper and then it's spelled a different way in a different newspaper. So can I get the correct spelling of Malik Johnson?
To the T.
It is. And the middle initial is really important. It's a popular name. So is there a middle initial? Because I'm just trying to get, I love that my community. I was here last
Trying
week.
to Oprah documents from the borough,
Yes,
so how does he use his name?
and so I need
No,
this
you can-
correct
You
spelling.
can state Malik Johnston, that won't work. I get the Oprah request, so.
I mean, if you're Oprah in Hunterdon County, that's a totally different animal than us, so I can't speak on behalf of, they do their Oprahs.
Okay, and I want to ask Malik Johnson himself, does he plan on resigning today?
Again, this is,
I'm not allowed to ask him.
he doesn't have to answer, this is a comment period by law.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else from the public? Okay, thank you. All right, I'm sorry, what are the minutes? The
February 28th, it's the regular meetings
regular
and
and
executive
executive. Can I have a motion to approve the regular and executive session minutes for February 28th?
Second.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Engelhardt?
Yes.
Ms. Johnston?
Yes,
I mean, were you in it? I don't think you were in attendance,
February 28th?
February 28th.
Oh, I think he wasn't in attendance either. I think it's the one he missed.
Yeah.
He needs
So
to
you could just abstain,
You
so when he
abstain,
was
Councilor.
abstain.
staying, okay.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes. And the March 12th minutes are forthcoming, right? That's okay, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I did, okay. All right, and under consent agenda, we have two items, proclamation for Andrew Day Devine, who has achieved the Eagle Scout. He's a Raritan Township resident, but did ask us to send something in. And then this,
It's just one.
what
It's the
about,
proclamation.
what about the resolution for the park? Oh, you put it at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're good.
Okay, fine. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Well, second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Thank you. Under regular agenda, first we have a public hearing ordinance 2023-13, repealing and replacing ordinance number 2023-11, granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast of Central New Jersey 2 LLC to construct, connect, operate, and maintain a cable television and communication system in the borough of Flemington, Hunter County, New Jersey. Can I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
Well, second.
The public hearing is now open. Anybody who wants to comment?
Do you want to, I'm sorry, want to approve it?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. All right. Anybody who wants to comment on the Comcast contract, you can just come up to the microphone, give us your name and your municipality for the record. Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
There's a,
Oh, is there a hand up?
there's a hand up.
Okay. I can't see
Can we
that.
see the participants on the screen?
That's what we're all in.
I can't
Well,
see that
that's
either.
not what I wanted.
I can't see, you know, like you and his glasses like this. I can't read it. Doesn't matter. All right, so who is our hand up?
It's Keisha, that's how you pronounce it. I mean,
What's the last name?
Sierra Lewis.
Okay, all right, Keisha Pierre Lewis, you have your hand up. Hello.
Hi, good
Your
evening. Can you
comment
hear me?
regarding- Hi, you have a comment regarding this ordinance?
No, actually, my hand was raised for a general question regarding the cannabis license. I just needed to clarify the application.
We have a second,
No, you can do it.
You wanna do it now?
Well, I know we gotta do this public hearing first, and then if you could just bear with us through the public hearing, we can come back. You had your hand up during the public comment period. So-
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Okay, so there's no comments from the public. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Is there a second?
I'm a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-13? Is there a second?
I'm a second.
Any discussion from the council? Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes, Marcia, could you just clarify the reason why we are doing this again? And I, from what I understand, there was supposed to be some sort of grant money in this ordinance, and is
Yeah.
that the reason?
yeah, I'll answer it. So this was my error, 100%. There was a resolution that was from last year. And then the resolution that was agreed with Comcast. And they had the exact same name. So when I pulled it into the documents, I pulled in the one from last year. So that had things like the Wi-Fi through Main Street and things of that nature, which was not agreeable with Comcast. So what this did was this rescinded those areas that were not supposed to be in there in the first place. Yes, also, there is a $10,000 grant reward that we will get once this is live. So if we approve tonight, I send the resolution and over that tomorrow, and we should see within the next 2 or 3 weeks processing of the check.
Great, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you for the question. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna entertain the comments or question from the public because we didn't see your hand up earlier. Isha, you want to just, you had a question about cannabis licensing?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging me. Yes, I just needed to clarify the application deadline date. It was hard to discern what was said. I heard the 28th, but I wasn't certain if that was April or December.
April.
It is April. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you for your question. Okay, moving on, under the regular agenda ordinance, introduction of ordinance 2023-14, amending the section of chapter 4 licensing general, section 4-3 retail food establishments, subsection 4-3.2 fees of the municipal code of the borough of Flemington to amend the fee definitions assessed for temporary retail food establishments in ordinance 2023-12. This is to clarify the ordinance that was adopted the last meeting by definition. Can I have a motion to introduce?
Tilly,
Is there a second?
Long second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes, could you please also take Miss Pierre Lewis down off of participants?
I can't, I'll try, I can't do two things at once, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll go ahead and leave the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, that will be on the 24th.
Thank you. The next one is introduction of ordinance 2023-15, approval to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank when the COLA is equal to or less than 5% under New Jersey State statutes 40A:4-45.14, 2023. This is something that the council does every year, which is allowing us to exceed the 2%. And every municipality in the state of New Jersey does this, in fact. Can I have a motion to introduce?
Tilly,
Is there a second?
Long second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that will be on the 24th as well.
Okay, it's April 24th, public hearing, resolution 2023-94, borough self-examination for 2023 municipal budget. The state allows local governments to do self-examination several years in a row, and then the state has to do one, which takes a very long time. This is one of the years when we can do our own self-examination. Our CFO does that work. We have to pass a resolution letting everybody know that that's what is happening. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Is there
Long
a second?
second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes. Thank you. Number 5, introduction resolution 2023-95, although this is called a resolution, is actually an ordinance because it does have to be read twice. It's a weird flux in the law, adopting the 2023 municipal budget of the borough of Flemington. Can I have a motion to introduce it?
Tilly,
There's a second.
Parker second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
No.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
No.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes. Thank you.
That's
Just
it for me.
set for May will be the public hearing and adoption. I just, for the record, just want to give some budget points regarding the 2023 budget that Mr. Hans, our CFO, and I put together. Between 2019 and 2021, municipal taxes went up 7.4%, which included a 3.5 increase in 2019, 2.7 in 2020, and a 1.7 in 2021. There was no increase last year during a mayoral election year. This budget increase will the tax rate by 3.75% and structures the budget to be flat with no budget increases for at least 4 years following, when it's anticipated that the private courthouse square will start making payments. So this is a once and done. The municipal tax per $100,000 of assessed value is $1,043.10, or a $39.10 increase from 2022. Based on the value of the average house in Flemington, this equates to about a $314 increase. Several major cost categories went up worth noting, including the cost of public health insurance, which increased by over 21%. Municipal pension contributions, which increased by almost 12%, sanitation and recycling, which increased by over 6%, and uniform construction code, which increased by over 25%. This budget aggressively replenishes the capital fund, which had been depleted from $600,000 in 2019 down to $93,000 in 2023. $155,000 is planned to be put away this year, and a total of $505,000 over the next 4 years, rebuilding the fund while creating dedicated escrow capital line items so that it can't be rated again as it has in the past. This budget aggressively pays down principal on financing notes in the amount of $875,854 over the next 3 years, avoiding costly and wasteful interest payments. The borough avoids paying over $300,000 in interest payments and thus avoids a more than 6% tax increase over the same period. This budget puts the borough on track of financial soundness and positions us to pay off debt and plan for future capital projects such as the long overdue Main Street project, fixing the wet weather facility, Academy Street, finishing the new police facility, and at least one additional well, while doing so with a stable and predictable financial environment. And even though I talked about getting earmarks in the state and capital budget, what the public needs to understand is if we don't have the debt capacity to be bonding in advance of spending money, we can't take the money. We are out of wiggle room at this point to do any more bonding. We're dead in the water. There will be no wells. There will be no redevelopment projects. There will be no Main Street redevelopment. There will be nothing, including fixing a wet weather facility that we now are under the EPA and the DEP order to do so if we don't pay down this debt now, because we are so overburdened with it from the last 4 years. So I appreciate those who introduced the budget. I hope the two members of council who are less supportive understand that we're not going forward in this town. And even if we get federal or state grants, we can't take them. So I appreciate you, your tolerance of me on my budget soapbox. Number 5, introduction resolution 2023-95. I'm sorry. Number 6, resolution 2023-96, accepting resignation of municipal court judge Eric Perkins. Can I have a motion to accept?
Chillier will.
Is there a second? Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
You should abstain, Mr. Johnson. Can you please abstain from that vote?
Me?
Yes, please.
Okay, abstain.
Thank you.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti?
Yes.
Ms. Tilly?
Yes.
Passed.
Thank you. Resolution 2023, amending a portion of a certain easement between Stephen Sturgis et al. I don't know how to pronounce that in Latin, even though I had Latin, and the Borough of Flemington dated November 12, 1949, and recorded in the Hunterdon County Hall of Records at book 482, page 478. This is that crazy easement that goes on property on Main Street that says we can demolish this building anytime we want, which is nuts. Can I have a motion?
Chillier.
is that?
44 Main.
It's just a little bit north of the bank, just across Bloomfield and one building on it. It's got like white siding on it.
Okay,
I think the music store is in there.
Yeah, I think so too.
okay.
Spotlight.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, we have a motion and a second roll call.
No, where's the second? Yes.
We have a second?
I thought we just,
I thought,
I thought we were
So
good.
you second?
yeah, I did turn.
Martin, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Roll call,
That's
please.
what I asked.
Ms. Engelhardt?
Abstain.
Engelhardt, abstains. So Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti?
Yes.
Ms. Tilly?
Yes.
Okay, passed.
I don't think we have to do resolution 2023-98 because they are a not-for-profit. We have an MOU with them that was sent to me by former councilwoman Jess Hand today. I forwarded it to our attorney. They do have an MOU to run this garden. So I would ask that the resolution 2023-98 be tabled.
So they're allowed to create their own committee? Is that
So
what-
they
is that what she
formed,
was looking for?
so they formed a not-for-profit. They are a legal 501c3, and then the borough went into an MOU with them, a memorandum of understanding to run the garden. The MOU needs to be higher and tighter, on both sides. It doesn't give them enough from us, other than running the garden. Like, it doesn't give them the access to our website to post things, nor does it give us the protection that we should have, like requiring them to have liability insurance and things like that, right? So, I asked our attorney to take a look at it over the next couple of weeks. It's not a rush, everything's functioning. But we don't need, we really don't need that. They're already doing it, so.
Right.
They're a 501c3, not-for-profit, and they have an MOU.
So just for clarity, they will not need coverage from borough insurance in the future.
They should be supplying to us,
An
and using
insurance
us
certificate.
as an additional insured, yes, as a 501c3 operating on our property.
Yes,
And that's what I asked Ms. Han for today. She said she would get it for us.
okay, thank
And
you.
I'm modeling my knowledge of this over how the Hunterdon County Board of Trustee Freeholders / Commissioners operate with the 4-H Fair Committee down at the South County Park. They own the land. They've allowed the 4-H committee to build buildings there. They have I think 20-year lease that gets renewed every 5 years for free, for $1. And they have a nice relationship where, you know, the use is there, whatever, but the fair committee supplies insurance to the town.
Was the MOU approved by the council?
It was, it is signed by the mayor.
But it's not, there is no track of any.
You have no vote on record for the.
I have
MOU?
votes that approve a committee, but not a memorandum of understanding for 501c3.
Do any of you and the two of you were here, I think Ms. Rossetti was on.
Yeah, I just went through
Do
all.
any of you remember voting on an MOU with the garden committee?
I don't think it was an MOU.
This is an MOU and she signed it.
I think it was
Definitely is.
just- I think what we voted on was just
Okay,
creating the garden.
There were three votes, 20, 21, and 22, approving a committee.
and nothing approving an
There
MOU.
was nothing regarding.
Okay, so this is bad.
Well, we could just,
No, it's okay.
No, we'll do this resolution, we'll do this resolution authorizing them, and then we'll fix it all. That's all, we'll just fix it.
because we should follow the same as the Samuel Fleming House with the borough.
Yeah, something like that. Yep,
And
exactly.
make sure that they have.
Yep. Yeah. And I did suggest that Councilwoman Rossetti and Councilwoman Engelhardt be the liaisons through recreation to that 501c3. You have your hand up, Ms. Engelhardt. What can I?
Yeah, I was just gonna thank you for, you and I know, I got one of this very late Thursday. And I wanted to thank you for kind of helping to figure this all out. And I guess my only comment to this resolution 2023-98 is, I don't know if this should go under the Enviro Committee or whether it should go under
Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't necessarily know we need to create a whole nother committee, though. It seems like overkill.
Well, we
Because there's a lot of
did-
overlap.
No, we need to give them approval to operate this garden,
I agree.
community
Completely
garden.
agree.
That's what we need to do.
From what I understand, even if that MOU was executed, and obviously there needs to be some research whether it was or it wasn't. From what I understand, that essentially expired at the end of last year. So I think either way,
The MOU did not. That's part of the problem. The MOU doesn't have an expiration date by law, government
right.
permanent. Like
Yeah,
forever.
that's what I had read today. So like I said, thank you to Mike and to the mayor for starting to figure this out. We'll all figure it out. It's
We'll figure it out.
it's
It's work.
something that everybody, in town likes, but we need to make sure we're dotting our i's and
Well,
crossing
I
our
think
t's
what
on
we
this.
could do is just do a resolution on the fly. I know our attorney hates this. Authorizing the not-for-profit community garden committee to operate the community garden in a temporary basis until we enter into a memorandum of understanding. Is that okay?
The substance is okay, Mayor, yes.
Okay,
Well, then, oh, the resolution, the only amendment that's.
That is.
what?
The only amendment then to the resolution is to enter into an MOU. Until which time we enter into an MOU.
Correct.
That's
Until what
the-
time?
the
Yes,
resolution.
exactly. Can I have a motion?
Engelhardt moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Long will second.
Any more discussion on this topic? We're gonna weed whack it to death. Okay. I was waiting to pun that. All right, so we'll work on this. You got the MOU. We
Well,
say
we're
now
going to
it's
take-
operate.
we're just gonna enter.
No, we're not going to, we're
We're
just,
doing it on the fly now, right now?
we did it on the fly. Yeah, I got a motion a second. I need a roll call.
Do we say exactly what we're changing?
I thought you just did, but we were gonna,
We're just incorporating in there until such time and,
until the end.
the MOU is done.
That's what I just wanted to.
Yes, that's exactly what you said,
Okay.
is what we're doing. For change, right? You love it when we agree. So. Get a roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes,
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, resolution 2023-99, authorizing the application for the 2023 Anjac Open Space Grant. This allows the not-for-profit Community Garden Committee to apply for $1,500. They would like to buy a shed. This does not guarantee the shed. Once if they get this money, then, we'll have them work with Mike Campion to properly locate it inside the fence. Can I have a motion to approve?
Long second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
yes.
Okay, thank you. We do not have a work session tonight. We are now entering into public comment session number 2. Again, I'd like you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If anybody has any comments, come to the microphone and just state your name and municipality for the record.
Adrian Pissarro. I live in the historic district of Wilmington Borough in the old Duran home. I'm with you, Mayor. I feel like your council and the councils prior to you for the past 6 or 7 years didn't give you a good revenue base. Challenged them last week, come up with another revenue base. I don't like that. I don't like it. Somehow in all of the development of the courthouse square and the hotel, I can find a lot of detail in the planning board. I can find a lot of back and forth. We've never put in place an ordinance for the municipal occupancy tax.
The hotel tax?
I'm not seeing the ordinance. Where is it?
We don't, until they open up the hotel, I don't think we can do that by law because there's no hotel yet.
Okay, so do we know, and it's not a question, have we considered that when we're looking at a tax increase? Like when the hotel's not
4
opening in
years.
10 years, right?
So the hotel, nothing is gonna open until at least the end of 2024, if not 2025.
Okay,
And when our CFO and I discussed how long we can go without a tax increase, we took in consideration that we can go without a tax increase on this 3.75 right up until that hotel opens, whether it's 3 years or 4 years. We're not counting on the pilot for 4 years in this budget. So then at that point, I mean, he said to the council, and he said to the council president and I, when we met with him alone, that he believes that it'll be at least 10 years before there is a tax increase based on this tax increase.
so my
10 years.
concern, 10 years, I'll still be paying off my house. Even at 3%, what was it, the 3.75
Mhm.
to $3,400 tax increase, it's gonna put me at 12,067.
At 3,400, how did you get that? It's $134 per hundred, for $100,000. So unless your house is worth $1 million, it's not gonna be,
So
so
it's 134 per $100,000.
$100,000.
So will there be any, okay, that's a late,
And that's-
number one.
And that's based on, again, that's the average house. So there's a lot of variables regarding tax assessment and tax assessed value. Most people in the county, your assessment it goes up or down, it's called equalized tax
Right,
value.
right, yeah.
So we can't predict what you're actually gonna have. I mean, that's the average, that's the average. So, but that's it, right?
Okay.
So he ran for us a tax table
I saw that.
at the last meeting, but that was based on 4.35% increase.
Yeah.
So it's right, it's
Yeah.
less than that now,
Okay.
right? And that showed that ripping the Band-Aid off and doing
Right.
this tax increase this year is going to cost taxpayers less money than doing 2.5 and getting it over with. But it also pays down all this debt and puts money in the capital fund where the 2.5, whatever doesn't, because it starts to pay interest.
So the hotel is not gonna open for 2 more years,
At
what
least
they're
2.
targeting, right? So it's.
They're trying to do, so originally they were doing either the hotel or the apartments first and then the other one second, but I don't remember which. And then because of COVID, and then because they couldn't get their steel or whatever it was, and they didn't,
Yeah,
move
steel
as fast as
tariffs,
they
the
thought.
steel tariffs.
I do believe they're trying to do them both simultaneously now. So their original target was that they were gonna open up half of this in 2023 and the rest in 2024. I think they're targeting everything now towards the end of 2024.
Okay,
Okay,
I can
so,
always reach out to the developer myself, right? I can
yeah,
always do
of
that.
course, or I can try to get answers for you.
That tax, that municipal tax, I'm very well traveled. I grew up in the hotel business. I sent you an email. I CC'd it and everybody else. Okay, so you'll see it.
Okay,
I just went to New Orleans. That's a really heavy municipal tax. And there's a lot of money there. There's gold in them hills. So I've given you guys kind of like, okay, here's what we're gonna get in this year versus here's what we can get, depending on how many rooms they sell. There's a little bit of machinations when you're selling a hotel room, okay? Can't do, but it's a revenue source.
right.
We don't have to wait for the pilot. We don't have to wait for the pilot if we've got that in place. So it's something as a resident, I'm gonna really be looking at.
Oh, I'm
Because I
fully
don't
aware
want to-
of the hotel
Right.
tax. it's just, we don't have a hotel
Yeah.
to put that in place.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
there is a good, also you could include Airbnbs.
Well, no, that's a different municipal tax. It's a
the
different rate.
occupancy tax.
It's the occupancy tax,
Yeah.
but there's different ones.
Right.
And when you really look through the regulations, they just did an update March of 2023. There literally are differences. An Airbnb is not the same as a Radisson hotel
No, I
or
understand.
not, yeah. So it's a little bit of a
No,
different rate.
I get it, I'm on your page.
Because you know, we've invested in this
Right.
historic property and it makes me want to say, okay, as that development goes up. And single family homes decreases in relation than the
Right.
number of rental units. Condominiums, it's a 12,000 square foot lot. I'm hesitant right now to do anything with my approval from the Historic Preservation Community. My house is beautiful on the inside, we've done everything we could,
Right.
but I'm gonna hold back until I have comfort.
I mean, I know
where we're gonna
that
end up.
other municipalities are raising taxes by at least 3% just
Yeah.
because of the healthcare cost that went up. I mean, in our
Yeah.
municipality, 21 or 24%, so, I mean, but they don't have the debt problems we have, right?
Yeah.
And we can't do anything without getting this under control. I mean, that's really what this comes down
I'm all
to.
about finding a different revenue source. I'll keep looking for one
So-
for you.
so
I'm gonna
that's-
keep looking for one for you guys.
It's hard to find revenue sources
know.
in government
I
and,
know.
and you don't wanna like.
I'm a regulatory compliance person,
know what,
and
get it.
just trade compliance and
We
e-waste, all
know
that
that
stuff.
we-
So if I can save a penny for my business, right, I'm gonna save it.
Yeah.
But if I can save us all that money.
Right.
it's
The
to help
hotel
us.
tax is absolutely gonna
Yeah.
come into play, but we can't pass it until we have.
So because there's that time frame, I literally don't wanna lose like, I guess there's a 90-day walk back. This, you won't be here then. Do we plan on, or can we maybe get a quarterly update for the community, someone who's on, maybe it can be you, to say, here's where they're at, here's the target date for open.
Mhm.
Anything, I would really like that, because I think as a community member, I wanna know when that's gonna hit. It's hard to find revenue. It's hard to find revenue in
I
government.
don't ask them now
I
what
know.
their date is, but I would definitely ask them by December what their date is.
Yeah,
You know, they are moving pretty fast.
and then next year ask them for a quarterly update. I'm
So-
serious, they do it in Hudson County, I know, a lot. Yes, quarterly updates, thank you,
Thank you.
and you'll have my email. and
Great.
I'm kind
Look
of like
forward to
measuring
reading.
that out, okay?
Dr. Tell, I'm looking forward
I
to
got
it.
really upset about at your council thinking they left you out to dry.
I
I
appreciate it.
text them.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Mr. Renz, back for a second bite.
Bill Renz,
We went home and got everybody to
Just,
sign
I'm
the
only
petition.
looking for a clarification, because
Sure.
of what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, regarding the taxes, it sounds like it's only gonna be $315 or $314 a year more, is that correct?
Only. That's such a painful number.
But-
If you're in
but
an average
am I-
house, in an average
am I
house in
correct?
Burlington, you're.
Roughly
your
under
tax will go
300,000,
About that.
About
in an average
314, so you got my support on that,
Thank you, Mr. Prince, I appreciate it.
okay?
It'll get you
And
dead under
Mr.
control.
Parker, very good suggestion about Liberty Village. Walking it out with that.
Turntable Junction,
Turntable Junction.
Turntable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? You're killing me, Sit Malls, I swear to God.
Hey, so I have a great idea to help with the tax problem and to the bonding problems. Let's get Liberty Village started. So now that you've had a long time to think about it, can you guys possibly schedule another meeting for next week?
I'm not committing,
Special?
until we have our executive session, I am not committing anything.
Well, how about this? How about if you don't do a special council meeting, we just meet with the new Liberty Village Executive Committee meeting? Committee. Could you commit to that one or the other next week?
I am not committing to anything until our professionals talk to the council.
I'm not changing that.
Okay,
That's great.
so, I mean,
I'm trying to come up with the next step, because if we wait to the 24th and then we all meet about what you learned tonight and what your thinking is tonight, we just lost another month, which means we're now 4 months behind schedule. So I just would urge you to please consider some interaction next week, so we can try to get closer to maybe a vote on the 24th possibly. I appreciate that.
thank you.
Okay,
Anybody else from the public?
Caitlin?
Okay, yeah, hi, I just need your name for the record and your municipality, Caitlin.
Caitlin Giles McCormick, Flemington Borough. Just wanted to take a minute with the budget and my concerns around the way it was introduced tonight. And not in favor of debt, not advocating for digging a hole for ourselves, but do want to take a note specifically around the surplus. 10 years ago, we had about half of a percentage of our surplus, or a half a percentage of our budget in surplus that we could dip into. This budget is adding, the budget that's been proposed tonight is increasing our surplus, but we have spent the last 10 years under the last two mayors increasing that surplus to about 10% of our annual budget. So we have more of that cushion that we're talking about and that rainy day fund. I know that, best practices wants to build that more, but we have made progress over the last 10 years and we have very good prospective things on the horizon in regards to additional revenue. And not saying don't be diligent, not saying don't pay down debt, but the 3.75 tax increase does not hit everyone equally. When we are talking about creating a community that is more involved, getting more people reaching out to the Latino population who is so underrepresented in this community, the people who are engaged right now are those with resources and those with the time to be able to engage. And this tax increases like this that will disproportionately hurt people of lower income, and that is it's a shame. It just, when we are talking about planning more for the future and projecting more, like all of that is great. But to have a big hit come right now at this point in time when it is not necessary, because there are other ways that you can pay down that debt, you can have a 2% increase and still pay down debt. Like when you dig into those numbers that you were citing, you were saying we can't bond, you were saying we cannot take grants out. That is not true if we do a 2% versus 3.75. Like there are ways that you can do it that do not impact the hardest hit already when we are talking about recession, when we are talking about things. This is just very disheartening to me, and I don't think is appropriate. And it also doesn't take into the fact that we have had the value of property taxes go up, which is great, but that also creates a higher tax bill. in addition to the tax increase in a state where we are overly taxed already. So we have been making some steady changes, some steady, more financially responsible decisions, which is the right thing to do. But to have a heavy hit come and say, oh, next year we're not going to have any increase. The year after that, we're not going to have an increase. Like, there's no way you can guarantee that. And there is a way to do this that, yes, may pay a tiny bit more in interest next year if we delay some of an additional payment now. But because of the rates of those bonds that we have, they are very good rates. Like, paying additional principal now versus a little more principal next year, it does, to me, it is because of this disproportionate impact on the lower income of on our community, just makes no sense, and is not something that we that the people on council were elected to do, to serve. It doesn't compute to me in a way that you were serving your public in a responsible way. So I'm really disappointed by that. So wanted to share that. And would urge everyone to take that into consideration as those discussions continue. And the other thing is just, I don't really think that it is appropriate for Council Member Malik Johnson to be voting specifically on the budget, but really pretty much on anything right now, given the multiple calls for his resignation. It's come from the Democratic Party. It's come from many people in the community. It's come from our democratically elected council members. There's ultimately, I know legally, there's no way to demand recusal from votes, just like there's no demand for resignation. We don't have that power. We don't have it in our structure of our bylaws or our state or our municipal code to expel people as they've done in other states. But I find it incredibly irresponsible. And I continue and echo the calls that have already been made for Malik Johnson to resign and for him to recuse himself at the absolute minimum from votes. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, just a comment on your comments, Ms. McCormick Giles. The 2%, as our CFO outlined at our last meeting, a 2% increase is quite doable, but it does not pay down any of the debt. We have 6 million in bonds right now. We have about 7 million, it's about 5.5 million in notes. They are interest only. They are not principally being paid principal. They're interest only, as you know, because you served on council. And there's 3 million that is not hit yet that will be hitting between the police facility and the fire truck in 2024. So 2%, as he showed us in our charts last meeting, not only don't pay down any debt, it will actually cost the taxpayers more money over time. So ripping off the Band-Aid and just doing this is the best solution. As far as doing a 3.75% increase and your concerns over that, I appreciate that. I wish you had been concerned as much at 3.5% increase you approved as council president 4 years ago. So moving on from that, since there are no other public comments, can I have a motion to approve the?
Is there anybody else with their hand up? Because I'm only
No.
seeing
No,
5, but there's how many?
No.
no, I'm looking right now. There's
Yeah,
no-
okay. Approval to pay the bills in the amount of $1,536,047.02. Can I have a motion?
Tilly will.
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yeah.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're now moving into executive session. Resolution 2023-97, executive session to discuss potential RDA amendments for Liberty Village. the council is inviting to stay in, our redevelopment attorney, Mr. Chris Walrath, Beth McManus, our planner, Jim Sharon, and folks from NW Financial. Everybody else, thank you for coming tonight. This is gonna be a very lengthy executive session. I anticipated lengthy, not less than 2 hours. There is not going to be any action taken afterwards. Nicole, you can contact me by email if you want tomorrow, but,
Only good evening.
we're gonna take a 5-minute, oh, can I have a vote to go into executive, and then we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Long second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tillman.
Yes, okay, we're gonna take a recess until somewhere between 20 of and a quarter of, depending on things. Okay,
The door.
Well, we have to come out of session again.
yeah, I know, don't pop open the outside door because he sees it pop open. he'll come right in.
Right here.
Yeah,
Go to quarter.
I like that movie. We've got to film.
Maryland.
Some guy. That one is like- Okay, so we're out.
Yeah, grouse and see.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Tilly will move. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. It was good seeing you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Mike, thank you so much. Meeting for Jim, thank you.
Actually, get everybody. That's why they- How we ever talk about it.
Good mention. To continue, you mentioned another project that this reminded me.
No, I stopped.
Take a look at it to see.
So I think some that. And list, the item list was. Which is, yeah, I understand it's on the others we're going through, but this is not this one, the other ones are problems too. Well, we should. Absolutely, no. Let's get part of.
Here, I'll take you. Something's going on. I'm gonna be for the next week. I'm trying to- That was the issue.
Oh. Better, because you know, that's what I was saying, what the car was slowing down, she's out there saying it's all aces. And names marks in the room. And there before we changed it. Oh, I can't tell her the one, so I look at it. Yeah, it's the marks, because that road is so steep. Those are down onto North Main. Yes, down onto North Main. Yeah, this is Garden Lane over. Got it. I said, no, I don't care, if that's what they want, I just don't know why it's changing. I don't know why. It was a recommendation from the traffic, but who asked? Who asked? Was that, I guess, underneath with the grant, it was all the part of the grant money for in one way. Yeah, that was to comply with the grant money. So I don't know if this would too, but. Okay. Matt up here. Yeah. Doesn't even want to play now that it's hour and a half. The thing is not part of me. This would come up. That's part of the day, so, these three not have those to beat it on. So it's still right, but they're not, they have for days. Sorry, they don't financial. This is the.
And this one is already. That one is, I think, built in your. You mind if I take a photo of this? Oh, yeah, go. I think you were also mentioning. That was similar, that was very close together, the different ones that. When we go back in here, I'll show you the, like the location for it.